Hello, I'm Gary, and welcome to another episode of Physical Format Rock and Roll, where we talk about all things rock and roll and sometimes classic metal. So this will be an episode of new album review. Once again, this album that I'm reviewing is not really that new. It's already been out for a little while, but I'm just getting around to reviewing it. Like I said before, I've got some albums that I've got over the past few months and just never got around to reviewing them. So anyway, right now is a pretty good time to be a Pink Floyd fan if you want to hear some live stuff going on, right? You've got Nick Mason's Saucer Full of Secrets with that wonderful album, Live at the Roundhouse, that he did, where his band is doing all the real early Pink Floyd music. They do a really good job of that. I reviewed that album earlier. That's really good. And then, of course, you have an older recording, the re-release of Pulse, from the version of Pink Floyd after Roger Waters had left the band. That was previous release, but it's been redone, remastered, and I think there's a couple songs added to it. And so that's out there too. And what we're going to be looking at today is, of course, from the other member of Floyd, and that would be Roger Waters. And this is Us and Them. Now, I know that there's a movie out, or Blu-ray, whatever, of the concert film that this is kind of the soundtrack to. It's already been released. They released that before they ever released the album. But I got the vinyl version. I'll show you what that looks like. I like that cover. I think that's pretty neat. Opens up here. It's got the cool picture of the pig over the factory there from the Animals. Got some other concert scenes. Got the big screen there behind him. And, of course, in the back, it's got the track listing. There's actually 3 albums involved here. I'll show you those real quick. I'm not going to show you the albums. I'll just show you what the records themselves look like. Got these solo shots. Pretty cool shots of Roger. I got the screen there. I think he's got Trump on that screen. And then got that and that. And the red light there. And then the other cool thing that I like about it is that it comes with this neat little booklet. Kind of like the old school live albums, right? They come with something. It's got this in here. It's got all this stuff. It's got a forward here. I think it's by that Sean Evans, I believe, is who does that. Talking about the tour and everything that went along with it. And then you've got words from Roger Waters himself. Got some other cool shots there. Roger looking old and cranky. You've got that picture there. I don't know how well you can see it, but that is obviously from Animals, and this is a concert shot. I went to this tour, very, very good tour, and this is over the crowd. This is a crowd here. This thing came down from the ceiling, and all this is actually projected. This is like all these, I think it was like these, I don't know, I can't remember if it was inflatable or these like curtain things came down over, but I mean, you'd never know. Once the projections are on there, and then they even had the smokestacks coming up, and it was just awesome. It was just crazy to see how neat that really looked. I mean, that was really cool. And you got some more pictures in there, and then you got that back picture. So that's kind of cool that I had that with it. I always appreciate stuff like that. Of course, he's got a backing band on there, and some of the same people that he's had on some of the previous tours, and he mixed it up a little bit different than he has before. Joining him on this one is guitarist, vocalist Jonathan Wilson and Dave Kilminster, who of course has been with him before. Guitarist, bassist, and vocalist Gus Seifert. Keyboardist, guitarist, vocalist John Caron. Keyboardist Bo Coster. Drummer Joey Veronker. And saxophonist Ian Ritchie, of course. Jess Wolf and Holly Lasik are the background singers. They're actually in a band called Lucius. They're two women who do the background vocals, and they do a pretty good job, really. And they're a little bit different. I think they do a different version, kind of slightly different arrangement of Great Gig in the Sky, which is on this album. And I'm all for that. I thought that was, really cool. Of course, I realize that sometimes for whatever reason you get people who are either on the David Gilmour camp or the Roger Waters camp. Maybe because those two guys don't get along, so some of the Pink Floyd fans think they had to choose between one of them, which is kind of ridiculous. I love both of them. I love David Gilmour and Roger Waters. They're both, amazing at what they do. I mean, you wouldn't have had Pink Floyd with either one of them, right? You talk about two guys that need each other. All you got to do is listen to some Roger Waters solo albums, and yeah, they're going to have some pretty cool stuff on there. But at the same time, as you're going through the album, you're like, boy, this would be kind of cool if David Gilmour was on here singing a few songs and playing that great guitar. Just like, you're listening to a David Gilmour album. I can't make it through an entire David Gilmour solo album without thinking, man, this would be better if Roger Waters was writing some of these songs and you had some of those cool lyrics and just having Roger sing some of it. David Gilmour, obviously the better singer of the two. He's got a really smooth voice, better range. But Roger Waters always had that very distinctive, biting voice that really added to it. I always liked songs where both of them sang, like some of the ones on Animals or On the Wall. Just the contrast in their voice is really cool. At this point, Roger Waters has a, fairly kind of croaky old voice at times. Sometimes that old biting voice comes through. Other times it's kind of hoarse or whatever. But, it's still serviceable. And of course, the only bad thing when you're listening to a Roger Waters concert, there's a lot of stuff that David Gilmour sang on, right? Just like when you would see the Pink Floyd version or listen to it without Roger Waters, you're missing some of that. It's not quite the same. But at the same time, as I was listening to this, because it starts out, side A is mostly stuff off of Dark Side of the Moon. It's got an intro, a cool intro, Speak to Me, Breathe, and then it goes to One of These Days, which is not off of that, and that sounds really awesome. Time, the reprise of Breathe, and then Great Gig in the Sky. So, that's mostly his guitar players singing it. I'm not quite as crazy about who he had for vocals on some of this. Sometimes it sounds pretty good, other times not as much, but it's different. Side B, now side B is pretty cool because you got Welcome to the Machine. That sounds really good. And then he does a couple from Is This the Life We Really Want, which was his solo album that he had out at the time. Does Deja Vu, The Last Refugee. Both sound good on that. Picture That, great song. I love that song. Now we're on side C. Then we do Wish You Were Here, which of course, one of Pink Floyd's most iconic songs, and quite the amazing collaboration between Waters and Gilmour, right? Waters wrote the song with David Gilmour on the music. David adds those great guitar parts in there, sings it so well. And those words are just so fantastic, right? That Roger wrote. And on this, it's like, okay, Roger Waters sings this song. And you're thinking he's never going, you would think maybe he'd have one of those one of the guitar players sing it who has the more smoother voice. but he chooses to sing this song. And I think that's the right idea, because with his, kind of weathered voice or whatever, it gives you a different version of this song. Wish You Were Here is a song that obviously, I love that song. It's one of my all-time favorite songs, but at the same time, I'm burnt out on it. I have to, because it comes on classic rock radio, and I'm like, Jesus, and I want to turn the channel because I want to hear that song again with more fresh ears. I want to enjoy it more like I did. I don't want to be burnt out on it, so I try not to listen to it. This, I'll be able to listen to more. It just, Roger's voice, thinking, okay, these are the lyrics he wrote. And to hear him sing it and to give that kind of weathered sound to it, it just gives it a very vulnerable, very more emotional text to it. It's a really cool version. Then they do Happiest Days of Our Lives, Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2 and Part 3, which is awesome. Side D, Dogs from Animals. Great. Side E, another one of the highlights on this, is Pigs, 3 different ones. That sounds great. Because here we go on this one. So, they're playing the song through. They're doing it pretty much, like the record. But it's got like, those parts where it goes, that part. Every time they hit those accent parts there, oh my God, it sounds so powerful. Crank your stereo up and it's like, it's just like a sledgehammer on those parts, man. You talk about bringing that to life. And there's like a few other songs on here where it does that, and there's like a few explosions or something, and it's like you can feel them coming through the speakers. But at the end of Pigs, like I say, they're playing the parts pretty much like they were written and everything. They start improvising a little bit. They start changing it, and it's really cool. It is really rocking by the time it gets there. Side F, final side, Us and Them. Obviously the title, Us and Them. They got that from Dark Side of the Moon. Brain Damage and Eclipse. Eclipse, you got Roger singing with, like, he's got somebody singing with him, so it's, like I say, he's got the weathered voice going. Just all depends on how you look at it, how you take it. They do a reprise of The Last Refugee and a slightly different version of Deja Vu. So that's the album. I was watching another guy that he has a show called Lair of the Alchemist, and I really like his show. You should check it out sometime. He's pretty cool, very knowledgeable, and he was talking about live albums and do they even matter anymore? And he made some really valid points. And one of the things that he was talking about, and I thought this myself, is like so many live albums now, they just sound pretty much just like the record, the original studio recording, to where there's like almost no point in owning it. I think this has enough difference in it that it makes it worth owning to me as a big Pink Floyd fan. And that's really how I would talk about this album. I would say, if you're a big Pink Floyd fan, I would recommend this to you. If you're not, if you're the real casual Pink Floyd fan, maybe you've just got a greatest hits or you just hear their songs on the radio, no, this isn't the one for you to get, okay? You need to go get Dark Side of the Moon or The Wall or Animals or whatever. But if you really love Pink Floyd and you like hearing the different stuff, if you, and a different take of it, and you want to hear the creative genius behind Pink Floyd, where he is now as an old man, revisiting some of these songs, adding some new ones, then yeah, I highly recommend it to you. But that's my opinion, of course. And I'm really curious to hear if anybody out there has heard this album, or if you've seen Roger Waters on his past few tours. I've seen him on his past few. I saw The Wall and the one before that. and I really enjoy it. And anyway, I'd like to hear your opinions in the comments on it. And don't forget to check us out on our Facebook page and Twitter page. Physical Format Rock and Roll is on both of those formats. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel. And this is Physical Format Rock and Roll. I'm Gary, and I will see you down the road.